Welcome aboard. Welcome to my new sailing command center. In this home video studio tour, I'll take you behind the camera. I built this command center so I can level up my video courses, live streams, and Zoom clinics, and create more interesting and engaging sailing content. If you are thinking about building your own video studio, you need to consider lighting, cameras, audio, and how to make everything work together with your workflow. So many content creators have shown me theirs, so it's only fair that I show you mine. Hopefully my setup will help or inspire you on some level. From this seat, I can record professional looking and sounding, talking head videos for my courses and how-to videos. With Ecamm Live and Zoom and the components that I have here at my fingertips, I can live stream more professional and appealing learn to sail classes, racing clinics, and coaching sessions. I can share drone footage of sailboat races and interview top performers and take viewer questions. Sailors can send their onboard action cam footage, and I can connect them with top coaches. I can easily produce live learn to sail classes as a mechanism to promote tri-sailing events and grow the sport. I can easily bring in sailing experts and host clinics on any sailing topic, from sail making to rules to boat handling to strategy and tactics. I'm excited about my new sailing command center because there's so few things I can't do. Creating sailing content is a lot of fun and involves a lot of cool toys and gadgets. If you want to see more videos about video studio components, video editing on DaVinci Resolve, DJI drones, GoPro cameras, and 360 videos, and want to go behind the scenes and see how I go about creating content, you can like this video, subscribe to this channel, and get notified when I publish new videos. Before I go any further, let me say, I'm a sailboat racer doing this to help grow the sport of sailing. I'm not a camera expert, I'm not a lighting expert, and I'm not a video editing expert. But I have watched way too many hours of YouTube videos on these subjects, and I've learned so much already. So without further ado, let's take the tour. At the foundation of my studio is a heavy-duty Husky brand desk that I purchased from Home Depot. It's nice and sturdy. I can mount heavy lights and monitors to the desk without any problems. I can adjust the height so I can be sitting or standing, and I really like the look and feel of the wood top. If you're going to build a video studio like this, you're going to need more power. I added a Pyle 19 plug power distribution supply center that also includes 4 USB charging ports. The power supply center is mounted to one of 2 available openings in a 2-unit mounting bracket that I mounted to the back of my desk. In the second opening, I added a brush panel to help with cable management. When I started, I questioned the need for a power supply center with 19 plugs. Today, I no longer question the need for 19 plugs. With lots of plugs come lots of wires. I'm not Mr. Cable Management guy by any means, but I need it to look somewhat respectable, or it will just drive me crazy looking at it. I added a few under-desk cable management trays to help me keep my sanity. Believe it or not, it actually took some effort to get to this point. If I ever stop changing things around in the studio, which I honestly don't ever see happening, I'll take the time to make things look perfect. I'm talking into a Shure MV7X XLR microphone, with the XLR cable running out to the Rodecaster Pro 2 for audio processing. There are more expensive microphone options, but I do think this sounds pretty good. The Rodecaster Pro 2 offers 4 XLR microphone inputs, and I'm currently only using one. Shortly after I purchased my Rodecaster, Rode introduced the 2-input Rodecaster Duo for $200 less, so you might want to consider that alternative if you don't need as many XLR inputs. What you are seeing now is my primary headshot view. For the camera, I went with a Sony ZV1. I didn't believe spending a lot more money on an expensive camera and camera lens would make me look any prettier, but maybe the photography experts out there will tell me I'm wrong. The Sony ZV1, by most accounts, is a great high-quality streaming camera with HDMI output. It's not the cheapest camera, but I think it looks professional and is a fraction of the price compared to other popular DSLR camera setups I've seen out there on YouTube. For lighting, I use a pair of Amron 60X lights with softboxes as both my key light and my fill light, plus a third Amron 60DS light with a diffuser above and behind me that I use as my rim light. For practical lighting in the background, I have a pair of Aperture T2C RGB LED tube lights, giving me the blue lighting that you see on the wall. I have a vintage lamp behind the lighthouse sitting on my desk, which kind of looks like the sun setting or rising behind the lighthouse. For the background, I went with a nautical theme because I'm making sailing videos. I also have an Elgato collapsible green screen that adds a lot of versatility. It deploys and collapses in seconds, and like everything else Elgato, it just works. With the green screen, I can apply a virtual background like this, or I can add a solid background for a nice clean look like this. I've walked you through my primary camera angle shot with my Sony ZV1. Now, let's take a look at the next camera angle. This second camera angle is the product showcase view. From this top-down angle, I can do product unboxings and show off my tools and gadgets. Most of the time, this angle will be used to talk about sailboat racing scenarios and rules applications with 3D printed sailboats that I'm having made for me as we speak. For the product showcase camera, I went with the Sony ZV1F, a slightly cheaper version of the Sony ZV1. I wanted a good camera with an HDMI output that had good enough autofocus, and as far as I can tell, I think it plays the part. For this product showcase shot, I have two Elgato mini key lights with the lights and camera on tabletop camera stands, which are sitting on top of 5-inch square blocks. Honestly, I've struggled with several different top-down lighting configurations to minimize shadow and glare, and finally came up with something that I can at least live with. I think there's probably a better solution to be found, but this is what I'm going with for now. The rest of the angles I'm about to show you are really just fun, nice to have shots. Instead of going out and buying expensive cameras, I just made do with what I already had. I'm using an iPhone 12 and a selfie stick stand for this side shot here. I found a webcam in a drawer and mounted it to the top of my TV stand for this looking down perspective. For this rear view, I'm using some video camcorder that I found in my parents' basement that I didn't think they would ever use again, and so far, nobody's reported it missing. I've shown you all 5 camera views. In addition to these 5 views, I can create additional camera views without additional cameras rather easily in Ecamm Live. For example, I can create a zoomed in look on a primary camera and change the angle just slightly. This gives me the option to toggle between 2 variations of the same view from the same camera to help keep viewers engaged if I'm talking for longer periods of time without any B-roll or overlays. It's like having another camera and switching between them without the expense of adding another camera and without the need to use another connection port. The microphone is mounted to an IXTech boom arm. I've tried several boom arms, and the big thing for me is that the boom arm allows me to set the mic where I want it and still be able to move my arms where I need to move them and be able to see what I need to see on my desk. I land on this boom arm because it stays in place, I set it, and I forget it. I use a Mac Mini with an M2 chip mounted underneath the desk on the backside. The Mac Mini is connected to a CalDigit Thunderbolt dock, which is mounted underneath the desk on the front side, which allows me to conveniently plug in external hard drives and camera cards. But I had to add yet another OWC Thunderbolt dock because I keep running out of ports. I bought a cheap refurbished Samsung monitor as my primary monitor. I added a cheap TV monitor on a TV stand that you can see back there that I use as my secondary monitor. I also have an Elgato teleprompter or prompter, which also functions as a third monitor. On my desk, you can see the ATEM Mini camera switcher that captures my Sony ZV1 camera and receives audio input from the Rodecaster. I use the Magic Keyboard. I also use the Magic Trackpad instead of a mouse because it's more similar to what I use every day on my MacBook Pro. The keyboard and Elgato Stream Deck sit on top of my MacBook stand. I plan to use my 2019 MacBook for my studio, but I didn't have an M-Class chip, which I needed for the newest Ecamm Live features, but I decided to keep the stand and think I've put it to good use. You might have noticed the iPad with the green screen. I use the Apple Pencil to write on the screen when teaching sailing. Now, I just flew over some mission-critical components of this command center, so let's take a step back and take a closer look at some of these tools. First, the ATEM Mini Pro ISO from Blackmagic. It's a video capture card, but it's not just a video capture card. It captures up to 4 HDMI inputs. It has a powerful audio processor with 2 microphone inputs, and it only requires a single USB input on your computer, which I love. The ATEM Mini also has an HDMI output that I connect to a small reference monitor, which displays my camera input and audio level, which I also love. I went with the more powerful and upgraded ISO version so I can record isolated audio and video tracks of all inputs. It automatically creates a DaVinci Resolve project so I can seamlessly edit all the multicam tracks. I don't need the ISO capabilities when recording in my studio because I use Ecamm Live as my camera switcher and recorder, but I wanted the option to be able to take this little guy to a remote location for multicam and multi-drone shoots, so I decided to go with the upgraded version. If you're using Ecamm and don't need the ISO functionality, you can save $200 and stick with the A10 Mini Pro. With the A10 Mini, you can even run professional live stream productions directly from your A10 Mini, but again, I use Ecamm Live. Even though I don't use all the amazing functionality of this device, I still feel it gives me a lot of bang for the buck, and I really like this product. Unfortunately, the A10 Mini only has one camera output that is limited to 1080p. In Ecamm Live, I like to switch camera scenes, so I run my secondary HDMI cameras into my computer with separate capture cards. I run the video from my primary Sony ZV1 and the audio from the Rodecaster through the A10 Mini, which outputs the video as a camera source and the audio as an audio source into my Mac Mini. The A10 has an HDMI output that I connect to a cheap 15-inch desktop monitor as my reference monitor so I can always peek at my camera feed and check to make sure my audio is coming through the A10 at the right level. It's been a great addition to my studio. My favorite piece of equipment in this whole studio is hands down the Elgato prompter. This thing is a game changer. It's a teleprompter, it's a monitor, it's a single unit, and it's super lightweight. It's powered and operates from a single USB cable. I turned it on and it just worked. The software is easy to use. I can superimpose my script over the video monitor and get the best of both worlds and look at the people I'm talking to. I don't need to connect a separate monitor to a teleprompter. I don't need to figure out a separate teleprompter app. And I don't need to figure out how to adjust and mirror the output like I did in previous attempts. Everything I tried before just seemed really clunky. Or maybe I just didn't have enough tech savvy to pull it off. When you plug in the Elgato prompter, it works and it's easy to use. I also have it connected to my Elgato pedal, which is so amazingly awesome, but I'll talk about that next. I only wish I had started with the Elgato prompter. The Elgato Stream Deck streamlines the entire production. The Stream Deck is new to me, but it seems like it can do anything and everything. The first time I used it, I was blown away and it made an immediate difference to my workflow. You press a button and it does whatever you tell it to do. I'm still learning how to use this thing, but I can already tell you this thing has so much potential. I've also added the Stream Deck pedal. The pedal is simply a 3-button Stream Deck you control with your feet. You tell it what you want each pedal to do, right, left, and middle, and it does it. I've got it set up right now so the right pedal moves to the next chapter on the prompter, the left pedal moves back a chapter, and the middle pedal goes back to the start of the script in the off chance I messed up and need to do another take. It's really simple to use. Right out of the gate, I downloaded the Ecamm Live plugin and went with the recommended pre-programmed buttons. I can do things like switch scenes and so much more with just the press of a button. I can switch cameras. I can remind you to subscribe. I can throw in a fun sound effect. And so much more. Another cool tool I have at my disposal is my iPad and this Apple Pencil. I can use a green screen effect and write on the screen. Anytime someone asks a question about sail adjustments or sail trim when we're watching a video, I can use the Apple Pencil and direct their attention precisely where it needs to be directed. Just as a simple little example here, you can see me right on the screen. I can circle that boat right there. That is me racing at the glow-in-the-dark regatta at Clinton Lake. Just a fun little example of how it can be used. I do plan on using this thing a lot. Now I'd like to talk briefly about Ecamm Live, which you've heard me mention throughout this video. Although not a physical component of my studio, Ecamm Live streaming and recording software for the Mac is central to any workflow. I recorded this entire video in Ecamm Live, except for some very basic cuts and transitions that could be done in iMovie. All the other editing was done by creating scenes in Ecamm Live. Adding animated titles and graphics and more is easy once you learn your way around. With Ecamm Live, I can create high-quality videos without having to do any advanced editing in DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut. That alone makes Ecamm Live worth the price of admission. The live streaming and interviewing functionality is just awesome, and now it integrates seamlessly with Zoom. I was a doubter, now I'm a believer. In the description below, I provided a link to the Ecamm Live training course that helped me in a big way. I highly recommend Ecamm Live. Before I sign off, let's talk drones for a quick bit. Creating sailing videos with a drone is what put me on the pathway to content creation. I enjoy drone photography, but I also use the drone for real-time instruction and coaching, which you can soon see on my channel. The DJI Pro remote that I use here has an HDMI output, which I can plug into a TV at the lake so people can watch and learn. I can also bring a capture card and record the remote screen output and even live stream it. If I'm in a venue with high-speed internet connection, I can bring my iPhone stand, my MacBook, drone, and a capture card and live stream the coaching session or even a sailboat race. Imagine how much fun we can have with multiple drones live streaming a sailboat race. I mean, seriously, how cool would that be? If any content creators with drones out there want to do a collaboration at a regatta in a tropical paradise with bottomless margaritas, let's talk. Thank you for visiting my Sailing Command Center. I hope you saw a thing or two that may help or inspire you. I've included links to everything you see in this studio in the description below and more. If you stumbled onto this studio video and you aren't into sailing but want to learn a thing or two about sailboats or maybe even give sailing a try, watch one of my Sailing Made Easy videos and let me show you the ropes. With that, I wish you smooth sailing and fair winds. If I can help you with any studio or sailing questions, please comment below.